my goal is to get this, the information and the practitioner knowledge and the one-on-one or the group ability to every kid on the spectrum throughout this country. And the best way to do that is through the education system, is through the schools, through the parents, so people realize not only that this is very, very important work to implement, but that they're perfectly capable of doing it. You just need the know-how.
So implementing these requires funding in the school system.
Absolutely.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
Do you believe there's a lot of pressure on special education budgets to not properly fund physical therapy, occupational therapy, and after-school programs?
Oh, absolutely. Budgets in general for special needs, and it really makes me wonder what and how much legislation or legislators actually consider the futures of these children. I had mentioned to someone earlier, I don't know who is considering the future for these children when you're telling a parent that their child is now on a 2 or 3 year waiting list to get into a school. What happens now? What happens in between? If you allocate the proper funding to an educational program, they are more imbued with the ability to bring in the necessary programs. Right now, most education programs, as much as they would want to bring in new programs or enhance and optimize the programs that they have in place, the budget restraints make it very difficult to do so, and I can empathize with that. I understand.
How do you bridge the gap? I mean, how do you make inroads?
I think that comes into voting power, and it comes into parents and educators and anybody involved with the population to really make it known that these children exist, that there is not enough funding allocated to their education, their vocational development, and their futures as well. There's a misappropriation of funds that I feel perseverates many different aspects of our country, and this is one area where I feel particularly passionate about because my work, again, as I said earlier, I think is absolutely necessary and has to be implemented in order to get the best possible results, in order to achieve all the goals that we have for these kids, but it's not going to happen without the adequate funding.
Do you utilize music in any of your fitness programs?
I have, and music is fantastic because it can be used to sustain rhythm, whether we're working on that, and that's kind of a higher order or higher level skill with some of my more advanced athletes. I'll incorporate music, and then it can be used as a reinforcer. One of my big concepts is motivation and reinforcement, and that's from my ABA background. Okay, how do you make movement and exercise reinforcing for a population that generally does not like to move, does not like to engage in novel activities? Use a lot of pairing. So if music is a reinforcer for an athlete, if we're working on squats or bending knees or grabbing a ball, grab a ball, we put on the music, so immediately I'm pairing that activity with something reinforcing. I'm trying to establish at its highest level a joy of movement inherently. So a child goes outside and takes it upon their own self to engage in novel play or novel movements. That's generally not a highly probable occurrence in the autism spectrum. So it's necessary to incorporate as many different types of reinforcement and motivation as possible. And eventually we get to that level where one of my athletes is motivated when I'm giving him a break, and this has happened, and that's why I'm using it as an example, to go and jump over the hurdles again or do skipping or pull one of the resistance bands. And that for me is the greatest reward, because all of a sudden they've taken upon themselves to go and do some exercise, and I know it's translated and it's transferred from something that we're working on as a task or a demand situation to something that is reinforcing, and I don't necessarily have to be there for it to take place.
Do you work with on the nutritional aspect?
I try to. With so many children on the autism spectrum, the diet and the nutrition is a really tough area to breach. I've written many articles about nutrition. I talk about it when I do the Autism One radio show. I think it's absolutely crucial. It's a life issue. It's not something that should be taken lightly, where, okay, maybe we have good nutrition, bad nutrition, and it doesn't matter. I think it has a huge impact on overall well-being, whether we're talking at the neurological level, cognitive level, physiological level, just general well-being overall. There's so many different aspects. But I understand it's a difficulty. A lot of children on the autism spectrum are obviously very regimental, very rigid in their food choices. But I have said to parents, no child is born craving Cheetos. It just doesn't happen. So somewhere along the way, they were exposed to the bag and box phenomena, where most of the foods are processed. And these are basically slow-acting toxins, is all they are eventually when you break them down. And between fast food and then snacks throughout the day, and then using food as a reinforcer. And that's where it becomes very difficult with parents, because many of them, the first real association that they have with their child, the first eye contact they have, is due to a cookie or due to food. That's a very hard emotional barrier to break. They say, I always need that cookie in order to establish, eye contact with my child. I understand that's a very, difficult aspect, but it's also something that is crucial to their vitality and optimizing their life. So I think there's a ton of work to be done as far as nutritional education overall in this country, but especially related to the special needs in the autism population.
I have one last question here.
Sure.
That Mike has provided. If you have 1 to 2 minutes to explain to instructors, psychologists, parents, and therapists the benefits of how exercise and nutrition helps them to improve on their efforts to help these kids, what would you tell them?
Sure. Well, exercise, as I explained before, is not just about sports. It's about overall development and optimization of so many aspects of life. From the big three that I always talk about are self-efficacy, self-determination, and self-esteem. And you can also throw socialization in there as well. Physical fitness and physical culture is about moving optimally, and when we move well, we are also engaged in so many more options as far as activities, whether they be daily life skills or vocational skills or socialization skills as well. So we're building, using fitness as a gateway towards all these other skills, and in the process we're becoming healthier physically, we're becoming healthier emotionally. And how many opportunities do these kids have on an everyday basis to be told that they're doing well at something, not only to be told they're doing well, but to know they're doing well at something. And with fitness, it's a tangible achievement. If they're catching a ball for the first time, or if they're grabbing a weight and putting it over their head for the first time, or if they're doing a bear walk, or if they're skipping or jumping, this is huge for them. You're talking about very, very major developmental milestones in relatively short periods of time. The outcome for these kids is huge, and the benefit generalizes itself to so many aspects of development. Unfortunately, in this country, physical culture has gone to the wayside, but I feel that bringing it back through the youth population, and especially through the autism population, who I feel are owed this type of integration, is some of the best work we can be doing, and some of the most beneficial work for the population as a whole.
Fantastic. Do you have any other things you'd like to share with our audience?
Sure. If anybody is interested, my first DVD is available. It's Beyond Boundaries: Fitness for the Young Autism Population. And what I've done with this DVD, given the nature of the population, I didn't want to do a straight-ahead follow-along DVD for a child who is not necessarily ready to attend to a video or able to perform the exercises. And so we broke it down for parents and practitioners. We use prompting and prompt fading so that they're able to guide each athlete through the exercises and eventually fade their prompts away so the child is mastering the exercise or the activity on their own. DVD is available through bbfitdvd.com, and if anybody has any questions, any comments, would like to know, would like further information, they can always email me through the site as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.